Scott, we're continuing to work through the terms that are related to organization and how to run a business, a ministry under the Good Place principles, the Utopia principles. We're on systems, and big term. Are we talking plumbing systems, electrical systems, HR? What's human resources? What's going on here?
Yeah, so systems. The definition I like to use for organization is a group of people working together for a common purpose. And you could have two plumbers who work out of the same truck. They're an organization. You could have four plumbers who work out of two different trucks. They're an organization. If you have 100 plumbers working out of 50 trucks, you're going to have more people in the organization than just plumbers and trucks. Somebody's got to manage the finances, keep the books. Someone's got to be in HR. Someone has to be the purchasing department to keep the trucks stocked so that the guys don't have to keep running the whole depot from between jobs. So each of those things I just mentioned are ways that we systematize or organize. I mean, think about organization means making organs out of things. Our bodies have all these different organs.
And an organ is just a tool. Literally,
right.
It means a tool, yeah.
So, managing those systems for what? For the aim. What's the aim? The charter. Mm-hmm. But there's the overall charter, but then the purchasing department has their own charter that serves the ultimate charter of the plumbing company.
Sure.
Their charter is make sure our plumbers have everything they need when they need it, and that we get it at a price that, at an affordable price. So there's your charter. Now, all of the systems in the purchasing department are oriented to serve that purpose. They need to know what the plumber's charter is. So the plumbers are going to have a charter, so they got to make sure that they give them supply so that they can achieve the plumber's charter, so that altogether they achieve the overall charter of the organization. So, and those are systems.
Sort of systems within systems.
Systems within systems. So like our body's a system, but we have a circulatory system, a nervous system, a lymphatic system. Our bones are a system, our muscles are a system. So we have all these different systems that all work together for a common purpose. And what I find in organizations is that everybody believes that in their head, they understand how the system they work in operates until you ask them to put it down on paper. Then they get stuck. And if you put them in different rooms, they come up with different versions. If you ask them next month, they give you a different version then. And so there's confusion over what the system really is. And one of the most depressing features of working in an organization is being frustrated that you can't do your job well because you're being held back from stupid policies, things not being done on time, something's done wrong, you have to go fix it. And the majority of that, in my experience, stems from people having different ideas of what they're supposed to do. I feel like I'm supposed to give you blue left-handed threads and you want red right-handed threads. And so I keep sending you blue left-handed threads and you keep getting mad at me. It's like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. You're like, no, this is what I need. Well, I talk to your boss and he's going to say, you need black rivets. So, nothing that's threaded.
So as much as possible, then would you say that these systems need to be written down somewhere? They need to be.
They need to be documented.
They need to be documented.
And there's lots of ways of doing it. The ISO organization has PhD level descriptions of how to document.
Now, what is ISO?
International Standards Organization.
Okay. All right.
They have document after document. They're very impressive. They're fun to read. I've never got them all figured out. But it can be simple. A simple block diagram.
Sure.
Here's the flow of work.
Flow chart.
This process happens, that hands work off to this process, hands that work off to this process.
We've an infographic, right, that says, well, if this, then here are your three options, and then you can pick one, and you are directed by this visual or this.
So that's a version of it, but leadership in conjunction with the rest of the organization. The leadership will say, okay, I've heard what you're all thinking, and we voted for this, and so this will be our method of documenting our processes. And then in documenting the process, you need to have everyone who works in it have input and editorial voice to say, yes, that's it or that's not it. The plumbers who are in the trucks need to be involved in helping define the processes of the purchasing department and vice versa, because they interact and serve each other.
Right.
So managing systems, again, you go to the charter, you want to manage them in ways that give people opportunity to grow and develop and be good at the work that they do. So everyone needs to be involved. Again, it's not a heads and hands model where the bosses go, here's your job, do it, and we have the employment incentive. You do it right, you keep your job. If not, you go and keep your mouth shut. I'm the boss, here's what you're supposed to do. People don't often say those words precisely, but a lot of times that's the implied culture. That is the culture of the business. It's not your job to have ideas about how to improve this process.
So I think that a lot of organizations that are going to be able to start out as utopia businesses or ministries or nonprofits or organizations, right? They're going to start small, because at that point they can be, well, we can form the identity here. We can craft this as specifically this type of company. And a small organization that survives, that makes it, they're often driven by one or two charismatic people. And also a team that is working together to such an extent that they are, they're improvising, they're calling audibles, someone's dropping $1,000 from their personal money into the, just to get this thing to the next month, or to, because it's so small, it's such a startup mentality. And again, many times there's one or two people that might rise to the top in terms of the face of the organization, the thought leader, the charismatic energy, center. And many times systems aren't necessarily a big part of how this group moves forward, because there's so much improvisation going on, but then eventually, the system has to come in, correct, and say, this is how you do this, and it doesn't depend on one unique individual here. Wouldn't a system just allow you to say, with the grace and the respect we give humans, workers, we don't treat them like machines, but if we have a good system, when one retires, another one can slip right into that spot. Can you speak to that? Or? Yeah,
for sure. So, you've outlined a classic life cycle of a business. You have a charismatic founding entrepreneur who stands in the center and points, inspires people, directs people, that catches on, it's successful, and then there's this crazy chaos around the success, and people get a sense that, chaos leads to success. But those creative, maybe chaotic founding entrepreneurs are usually followed by somebody who brings order to that mess. And that's one comment. Another comment is that one of the 10 areas is managing innovation. Managing innovation is itself a system. And there's a period of innovation where you do have a lot of wild creativity, but you can manage that. And I would submit you need to manage that. One of the things that happens, I realized that business magazines, Fortune magazine, Fast Company, they sort of offer business porn. They show you, here is this wild, crazy, intelligent person who had this big idea, put it all on the line, maxed out their credit cards, borrowed money from friends and relatives, and now look how successful they are. And they tell that story over and over and over. The stories they never tell are the 99 other people, or the 999 other people who acted that same way and crashed and burned. So
Well, another thing that these publications do is they really give you these cool sound bites. That maybe there's a little phrase that you can remember that sounds great. Go fast and break things, or hurry up and fail, or something like that. And that's not the complicated depth, the matrix that a true company exists on.
No, those are dangerous phrases. Just like in I think it was the 90s, there was a book called Reinventing the Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Sold millions of copies, and everybody went out to reinvent their corporation. The author of that book said, this is for businesses that are on the verge of failure. And people applied it to businesses that were not on the verge of failure and did a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. Most of what I adhere to on managing systems, I got from W. Edwards Deming. One of his, he has, it's not time to go into it now. He had 14 points of managing quality in the organization. But just in managing systems, yes, they need to be documented. Yes, everyone in the system needed to have input into that documentation. Everyone in the system needed to understand it. They need to understand the financial impacts. They need to have access to sharing their thoughts on how to improve it, because in many systems, the best ideas for how to improve it comes from frontline people, not people way high up in the authority of the organization chart. He had a great line, improve your aim at the target. And then he went through all the different fallacies of things that people do to improve systems that don't actually improve them, that cause greater variation. So that could be a whole separate...
We're complicated people, and we like complexity, and sometimes we embrace a complexity that is only surface level and is not really meeting the problem.
Right.
And it tricks us because it sounds good, it looks great, but it's too much, or it's overthought. It's and yeah. So let me see if I can just put this back to you quickly, and then you correct or you revise anything. So a system needs to be documented in some way so that many people can look at it and say, this is how we do it. Mm-hmm. It has to be clear, it has to be readable. It has to be something of a working document, because if there is a better way that is found, people need to be able to say, let's fix the system then. The system is going to be the general rule for how we do things, but obviously if times change or the market changes or there's something else that we need to be able to fix and change the system. But until that happens, and this is how we do it, and it has to be such that if a human disappears, retires, gets sick for a year, whatever, moves away, gets another job, another person can come in and say, okay, here's the manual, here's how we do it, and the system allows the company to survive the eventual absence of its individual personnel. And is there anything that you need to fix to that or add to that?
No, it's a great summary, and I buried the subhead of the headline here at the end. One of the most important concepts to understand is that we talked at the beginning about how if you have 100 people doing the same job, there's going to be lots of different roles. And then you're going to have a system of how decisions are made. And so if you have 100 plumbers in a truck, they can't none of those plumbers can go, oh, starting from tomorrow, we're not going to use Odie products anymore. We're going to use another brand, and have that be true for everybody. So there's some levels of decisions that there's a role you have to be the one to say, I'm committing us to that decision. And the higher up that chain of authority you go, the more impact those decisions have on human lives. And so the decisions they make when you create a system and hire somebody, and now that you've defined it, you say, go do this. And they go do that, 90+% of the results from that work are based on the system that you defined and gave them to do. Mm-hmm. And so one of Deming's big principles is you don't give people incentives to do a better job in a system that you've told them exactly how to work. You give them opportunity to have feedback into that system, mm-hmm. to suggest improvements.
Mm-hmm. I see. So that's an important part is the self-correcting mechanism you have in play where even an employee maybe at a at the end of this tree, down there doing the work with the customer can be able to say, I have an idea. It's going to be taken seriously. I'm not going to be tacitly punished for this. It's not going to, and this is how it works. We share whatever, and it's going to go up to the level of the person to look at it. It might be implemented, it might not, but it will be heard, it will be respected, and it will be examined to see if it really does improve the system or not.
Yes, and then the key concept that I wanted to get across just right here at the end is the people who make the decisions of what the system is going to be, they determine the output of the system. They hire the people who will follow their system. They give them the training on how to follow the system. So if you follow their system, the results are the results that their system produced. You happen to be the hands, but you're doing what they told you. You don't have the latitude to change how you do the work to get a different or better outcome. And so that needs to be understood by people making those decisions, which is why it's very important to get all the input you can from the people who do the work.
Right. Thank you.